Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate and Aaron Maxon, the Maxon brothers, here with you. Aaron, how you doing?
Hello, everybody.
And I know it's been a couple of weeks since we had an episode. Some work things have been going on and stuff, but we're gonna roll back into it this week. I apologize that we took a couple of weeks and we haven't had an episode, but we're gonna get back into the PWI 500 from the year 1994. Hope everybody enjoyed WrestleMania season. It's over. We began a quote unquote new era in the WWE that I'm excited for, but we're talking about 1994 here, 30 years ago. The year of WrestleMania 10, which is another fantastic fucking WrestleMania.
Yes. And kind of a transition wrestle. It's kind of a, I don't know if you'd say it's a transition WrestleMania, but it kind of is.
Well, what's kind of crazy if you think about it, like every 10 years, it seems like it's a WrestleMania that crowns like a new underdog guy kind of as the guy. Like in 94 with Brett at WrestleMania 10. I know he'd already been the champion, but WrestleMania 10 was really kind of his crowning, as the man. And then at WrestleMania 20 with Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, they had their moment. And then at 30 with Daniel Bryan, and then this year with Cody. So it's kind of a trend for every 10 years at WrestleMania. There's
I guess it's just like, oh, go ahead, sir.
No, that's what I was just gonna say. Every 10 years of WrestleMania, it's like a new hope.
Yeah. And then hopefully this time it's just not a letdown. But like I said too, like I look at it as like I think, I don't know if he's gonna be on the list, but like I think like Randy just as like not mainstream wise, but wrestling wise, I think he is a bigger deal, like jumping over than what Hogan was. If that makes sense.
It sounds crazy because Hulk Hogan was the institution in the WWF, but yeah, almost because Randy Savage was even throughout everything, throughout his whole run with Vince, he was actually kind of more loyal to Vince than Hulk was. Hulk always wanted to do other things and all that, and Randy Savage was like, he was the guy that was
just always there,
putting in the work. Yeah. And it seemed to me like Vince McMahon and Randy Savage were closer personally than Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon were too.
Yeah. And that's the reason why, because Randy was just always there. And so, yeah, that's why I think it was, to me, it was like a bigger deal. And Hogan had been off of WWF for a while, and Randy hadn't. Like, it was just kind of like, whoa, Randy Savage is there. Yeah.
And I have to say, although he did do some good stuff in WCW, Randy Savage was, I hate to be that guy, but I enjoyed Randy Savage in the WWF more than I did in WCW. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's only like one or two things maybe that they did Flair Savage better.
Yeah. And I don't know. And then his feud with DDP, again, and not that he was ever bad. It was just to me, he just always fit better the way the WWF promoted. But
yeah.
All right. So here we go. We are in 1994, the PWI 500. I have the magazine right here in front of me. Last time we left off with Ron Garvin at number 211. At number 210 is a guy, I don't know if this guy's ever going to do anything or not. 6'7", 285, 2 years pro. It is John Hawk, former Los Angeles Raiders tackle, one of General Skandor Akbar's Rough Riders, shared global tag title with Bobby Duncombe Jr., famed for lariat clothesline, hails from Sweetwater, Texas. Of course, John Hawk will go on to become JBL.
And one of the, he's the guy that, like, I don't want to say he's just a WWF guy. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine him being anywhere else. I can't imagine and he took he took what could have possibly been like a not very good run and just turned it into like greatness, in my opinion.
I agree. And he also took a time, and again, we're talking about 94 here, but flashing forward, he took a time where he took good advantage of the fact that they hit a wall in like 2004 where they didn't have enough heels. Brock
Yeah.
left, and they just didn't have enough good heels, and they turned him into that JBL character, and it was thing like he was going to do the little feud with Eddie, over the whole immigration thing and all that, and he turned it into fucking gold,
Yeah, and
absolute gold.
it's also because it was like how do I say it? Like I wasn't there, so I don't know, but it's also could be attributed to hey, we're low on guys on the heel side of things. Hey, this guy's been here since 1995 and has been super loyal and never
Right.
left.
Mm-hmm.
He did whatever he asked him to do and whatever. So it's like, hey, let's give him a chance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a show. He's kind of like Kane in that aspect. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. As
talking
long as I
about
get
him
to
in
stay here.
talking about him in 94 in this instance, to be honest with you, I have not, other than some of the few things that I've seen from this later time in Global, I haven't seen a ton of him as John Hawk, but you could definitely see the promise. Like I said, I've watched a lot of
Yeah, I didn't
Global, and
see a
I've
lot
seen
of.
some of the stuff with him on Global. Excuse me.
There was that weird thing. I don't even know if you remember this, but it was like a pay-per-view. I don't even remember what the pay-per-view was, but it was like a football rules match. Do you remember
Mm-hmm.
this thing? There was like an
Yes.
indie thing. He
I
was on
also
that.
I also don't remember what it was called, but yeah, I can definitely remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was on that. I remember that thing. I
But number
remember
two,
football rule match being stupid.
Number 209 is Johnny Grunge, 6'3", 263. The other half of the ECW Tag Champs Public Enemy brings urban street life philosophy into the ring with him. Brutal and bloody feud with the Funks. We talked about Public Enemy last week. Not a whole lot to say.
Nope.
Johnny Grunge was Johnny Grunge. Was what it was. They were over in the arena. I'll give them that.
Yeah, and Rocco could work, but other than that,
Number 208 is Mo. 6'1", 263 years pro. Mabel's partner in Men on a Mission, who briefly were WWF World Tag Champs. While injured, Mabel discovered solo ability. Extremely
no, he didn't.
strong, but undisciplined. You know what's funny about Mo?
He said he was a good worker. I mean, I don't think that's funny, but
It
like,
is he he was probably in his, I don't know, maybe late 20s. He really hadn't been working that long or anything, but he looked so much older than he actually was. Like Mo looked old.
yeah, I think it was the dyed hair and the fact that he's like little. He looked like the dad from fucking Family Matters. Started becoming a wrestler. It's like
I will,
I don't remember that guy's
I,
name.
I
Yeah,
will say this though. Mo did do one thing in wrestling that sticks in my memory.
Harry servants and
Hear
wenches.
ye, hear ye, servants and wenches.
No,
in the
Mo was
ill,
a good. Oh, go ahead.
I was just to say, in the ill-fated King Mabel run.
Yeah, but like I said, Mo was a good worker, and that was his job in that team was take the bumps, do the work, so this big guy can get in there and just splash somebody. And yeah, I mean, Men on a Mission was what it was.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, when they turned him heel, the thing I've always thought was, if they would have turned them heel, and then, okay, so they went with the King Mabel thing, and it was cartoony, and he was a heel challenger for Diesel, and it was just that time in the WWF. If they would have turned them heel, not done the King thing, and given them more of like I know it's the WWF, so it can't be like the Gangstas, but given them more of a Gangstas style edge, they might have worked as a heel tag team, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Like dress them all in black or so. I don't know. Just something completely different than what they did. Like they turned him heel, but they still dressed him purple. It's like, fuck's sake.
It wasn't good.
No. Number 207 is the other half of Public Enemy, Rocco Rock. So we'll move on. 6'2", 310, 2 years pro. This sadistic monster was discovered and trained by Larry Sharp, appears in Eastern Independence, currently feuding with Abdullah the Butcher, loves all specialty matches and his opponent's blood. Is that the guy? Is that the guy that
who was it? It cut out. I heard the description, I didn't hear the name.
Thing.
It's so you cut out again. It's like it won't let you say this guy's name.
It's Abuda Singh.
Oh, Buddha Singh. I don't know him.
It's not the guy Abdullah gave hepatitis to, is it?
That was Hannibal.
Oh.
The sock puppet.
Yeah, I'm not mad at Abdullah now.
Yeah, I don't know who a Buddha Singh is. I don't know who that is.
All right. We'll move on. Number 205, Vince McMahon's favorite wrestler, Jack Hammer. 6'6", 325, 3 years pro, has won the heavyweight and intercontinental titles in suburban Philadelphia's WWWA, has also competed in Caribbean and New Jersey independents, was trained by the Wild Samoans. Diamond Mike is his devious manager.
I was going to say Vince McMahon's favorite wrestler. I was like, there's a wrestler named Spooky Dookie?
I just was like, Genetic Jack.
Yeah.
Spooky Dookie.
Yeah, this guy's probably as generic as it gets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his manager, his manager, Diamond Mike, he has boas and funny sunglasses.
Yeah, and they asked this guy, hey, man, you're done training. You've done everything. What are you going to call yourself? I thought of it. It's the most creative name in the world. Yeah, what's that? I'm going to be Jack Hammer. Okay. All right.
Fine.
That's real creative, buddy. Yeah, Diamond Mike. Yeah, these fucking guys.
Mike gets up whenever they have intermission. Diamond Mike gets up there with the ring announcer guy and does the 50-50 raffle.
Yeah, and sings like a karaoke song.
Hit to be square.
Yeah, or fucking. I don't know what else could he sing.
Shit.
Stupid idiot.
204 is a name I don't know at all. Dane Rush. 6'6", 255.
Dane Rush?
Dane Rush. Yeah. R-U-S-H. One of the Pacific Northwest's most physical grapplers. Size is deceiving. He also can work off the top rope when needed. Best finishing move is the spinning thrust kick. Somebody in the Pacific Northwest is sending a lot of information in 1994 to Pro Wrestling Illustrated because they have a lot of Pacific Northwest wrestlers on here that I've never heard of, I've noticed. And with the wrestling magazines, that's usually who got the attention, was the ones that were sending in pictures and results and shit, you know?
And also that might be because, like, I don't know, maybe because around this time, like, indie wrestling wasn't really a thing. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it was like the Northeast, probably up where those guys are at. Because the Northeast, obviously, because it's WWE country or WWF country and wrestling is whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But also, like, how often in 1994 was Vince going to the Pacific Northwest?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, 94, he was thinking we're just going to be a regional company again, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, they very rarely ventured out of the Northeast from 94 through, like, I don't know, early 97. They might go out to California or something for a Royal Rumble or down to Florida, but yeah, they didn't venture out of the Northeast very much for a couple of years there.
So that's what I'm saying. At this point, maybe that region of the country was like Vince isn't like nobody's coming here and promoting. Like WCW didn't go there very much,
Right.
if at all. So maybe that area of the country, like guys were like, hey, wrestling fans want to see wrestling, so and the WCW and WWF ain't fucking coming up here, so let's just do it. You know what I mean?
And we have to give as many of you guys similar gimmicks to the WWF and WCW as we can. Come see Zonk the Clown.
With his little midget Fink or whatever. I can't call him Fink.
It's Zonk and Blanc. Number 203 is George South, 6'2", 234, 12 years pro. Gorgeous George currently holds the PWF tag title with former rival Italian Stallion. Rule breaker turned fan favorite, has great determination in the ring, extremely active in charitable causes.
Jobbers of the stars. I mean, not jobber, but you know what I mean. Like, he's a carpenter, and he's a guy that should get more recognition than what he does. And maybe now with the new world we're in, I think guys like that are going to start getting it. So,
yeah, George South was back in the day was one of those guys that on because we talked about. I think we even talked about it last week, calling them nobodies or whatever, the enhancement talent. But if you saw George South waiting for the big name opponent, that enhancement talent match was going to be a little more competitive and a little longer.
Yeah, it's like in Ric Flair's book. George South said Flair was getting mad at whatever, like the company, and they were just at that fucking little building, and he looked at George South, and he was like, "Tonight, brother, you're Ricky Steamboat." He's like, "I'm gonna fucking." South said he did everything for him. Like, they basically went out there and had Flair Steamboat, and it was like Ric Flair and George South. And he's like, I knew I wasn't gonna win, but I was like, this is like the greatest night of my life. This is fantastic.
And number 202.
He's a funny guy. He's a funny guy too.
Yeah.
Like he said, I should have sold advertising on the bottom of my boots.
And here in 94, he's teaming up with another one of those perennial TV job guys, the Italian Stallion.
But that one sucked. I never liked the Italian Stallion.
Gary Sabal was one of those guys that once he was one of those guys that hooked up with Bundy and Tom Brandy, in like the mid 90s and did the whole East Coast thing. But anyway, we're not talking about him. 202 is Mikey Whipwreck, 5'7", 181, 1 year pro, 18-year-old rookie, shocked ECW fans, clamping Pitbull Psycho Mike for the TV title. I don't think they ever called him Pitbull Psycho Mike on ECW TV. Takes tremendous beating, but usually wins when opponent hits referee. Cheer and pray for him. If you want to hear our extensive thoughts on Mikey Whipwreck, you can listen to us every week on Reliving the Extreme, because we're literally watching his entire ECW career as we go through the history of ECW. Basically his entire career, yes. But Mikey was fantastic.
Yeah, and like we said, we're into what, 96 now?
Yes, right? On the show, yes.
And he's going, and by 96, he's going toe to toe with Sabu and not looking out of place. So yeah, Mikey was great.
Mm-hmm. And he built his little spot in ECW, and he kept it. And I mean, he had that brief little thing where he went off to WCW for a second, but he winds up back. So yeah, I mean, like I said, he spent most of his entire career in ECW and made good of it.
Yes, he did.
Number 201 is Jerry Estrada, 5'10", 220, 17 years pro, one of the Mexican wrestling's most respected wrestlers. Pound for pound, has superb power moves, can suplex two wrestlers at once, feuding with heavy metal, has held numerous titles. Jerry Estrada, good worker. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about him, but anything I've ever seen of him, he was a fine worker.
I don't have a lot to say about him either.
Number 200, Barry Windham, 6'5", 273, 14 years pro, reemerged from a serious knee injury to become Ric Flair's mystery opponent, losing at Slamboree. Former NWA champion has solid superplex and claw hold, could regain elite status once he recovers and wrestles regularly.
This is when he came back big,
Yeah,
not big, not like big, like in shape big. Like he was like when he came back at that Slamboree, it was like
mhm.
he was just fat. I'm
He
like,
was.
Barry
He
Windham
wasn't. He
fat.
wasn't. He wasn't stalker fat yet, but he was getting there.
Yeah, and at least when he was stalker, he put some shirts on and whatever. But it was like, whew, buddy, you were big. And then by the time he got into the blackjacks, he started looking like his old man. You know, like it looked like he at least started hitting the gym a little bit more. And like
Right.
he was muscle fat then, but like here he was just fat and out of shape. And I mean, and then the crazy thing was he could still work. He
Yeah.
did not look good at all. Like I can understand why nothing more came out of that. Like it was like, ooh, look at him.
Question.
You know.
Hypothetical. All right. Because you know that 87 was like, I hate to say it, but let's be honest, because then there was 87 and things went downhill through 88, and then they wind up getting bought out by Turner at the end of 88. For Jim Crockett Promotions, 1987, their business decision, maybe even to buck up and get back some of that steam from the WWF, who's just steamrolling them at this point, other than in their niche areas like the Carolinas or whatever. Do you think it would have benefited them to strike while the iron was hot and have Barry beat Flair for the NWA title? Because he was fucking hot in 87 and they never pulled the trigger.
I think so.
There was a time in 87 you could argue he was one of the top 3 workers in the country. And he was over his shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, part of me is just sometimes I think it's just I don't know. They got how do I say like not and it was never bad, but like they got complacent with Flair being the man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a complacency thing, and I don't think the biggest hurdle in Barry's game was his promos. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because, like, all
I
right,
think it would have worked.
Hear me out. I'm, and I know you've already agreed with me, but I'm still pleading my case. It's like that customer that you told you're going to give them their money back, and they're still bitching.
Yeah.
But I always look at 87 and Crockett, and I'm like, at the beginning of the year, Flair and Wyndham have that fucking awesome hour draw match, right, on TV,
Yeah.
that everybody talks about to this day. And then they do the whole thing where Barry turns on Luger and becomes a horseman. I'm saying instead of turning him heel and putting him with the Horsemen, you don't do any of that fucking shit with Ron Garvin, and instead that's Barry Windham. And I think it would have been a better. I think it would have been a better deal and a better draw. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Probably not, but like I said, also at that point, people probably knew it was coming to the end. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was more than just creative stuff. Maybe it was like a guy like I don't want to say I don't want to say anything bad about anything, but maybe it was Flair being like, I don't want this guy to get over on me because who knows how long this thing's gonna keep going. I need to make this money at the end. You know what I mean? Type of thing.
Yeah.
I'd rather have him on my side than
than against me.
Like let's put him in my group because I'd rather have this guy on my side and let's put the belt on Ron Garvin instead.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're saying. It's from a political standpoint, yeah. But of course, we can go back and fantasy book from 30 something years ago, and it doesn't fucking matter, does it? It's fun. It's fun to do, though.
I mean, Hogan did it. Every time somebody'd start getting a little over in WCW, they'd be like, "Oh, let's have him be in the NWO."
Yeah. I need that rub, brother. Why do you need the
Yeah.
rub? We thought you were the guy giving out the rub, brother.
Like, oh, Kurt's starting to get over as a big heel here. Oh, how about you give me his robe? So now it's not your angle with Ric Flair, it's
Right, it's
my
my
angle with Ric
angle.
Flair.
It's fucking Hogan.
Man, brother, people are
Now
really
what?
popping for the Giant. People are really popping for the Giant, brother. And then he goes to Paul White, hey, brother, you should come back to the NWO,
Yeah,
man.
you know what's funny though? You know what's kind of there's a romanticized thing about another guy. Like people like to think more fondly about him, but he did the same shit Hogan did, and you know who that was?
The,
Dusty.
yeah.
Dusty did the same shit Hogan did, but everybody. I mean, and I'm not saying it. I love Dusty and I love Hogan. I love Dusty Rhodes too, but I'm
He
saying
did that with everybody.
Dusty did the
Somebody
same
started
shit.
getting a babyface would start getting over, and all of a sudden that was Dusty's best friend, man.
Yep. And all the women
And
wanted to fuck Dusty. Baby
yeah,
doll
and all
wants
of
to
a
fuck
sudden,
Dusty, and
all of a sudden, that guy that was feuding with Flair and getting over with Flair, now Dusty's in there, and he's the man, and that guy's his sidekick now.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Dusty did the same shit.
You're gonna tell me that
I
Matt?
ain't hating. I'm just
I'm
telling the
not
truth.
either. I'm not either. But you're gonna tell me like in 1986, 85, 86, like chicks were more into Dusty Rhodes than they were Magnum TA?
Yeah, right.
Really? All right.
Number 198 is number 199. I'm sorry. Let's not skip 199. Number 199 is Wahoo McDaniel. 5'11, 250, 33 years pro at this point.
I
Currently
was saying,
feuding
what's
with
he doing in
Ivan Koloff
'94?
in Mid Atlantic. Former U.S. champ and pro football player, presented the WWF star Tatanka with ceremonial headdress in honor of his Native American heritage. I think at this point, Wahoo's just wrestling a shot here and there. And like this thing says, feuding, quote unquote, feuding with Ivan Koloff in the Mid Atlantic area. In other words, him and Ivan Koloff did some shots together on some indie shows. But
Yeah. I mean, Ivan was still kind of steadily working, but yeah, Wahoo ain't fucking
sorry,
working a
Wahoo.
circuit in night. Yeah, he ain't working a fucking circuit in 1994.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear the story Flair told about him at
Which one?
WCW? It was when he was older, and um, WCW was in the Mid Atlantic area, like in his area, you know.
Mhm.
And Wahoo brought his grandkid and was like just gonna go and like he telling his grandkid like I was a wrestler and I know these guys and all this shit, you know, and um he went to go to the arena like yeah, wrestlers they just walk in, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he tried to walk into the arena and there was like a security guard that didn't know who Wahoo McDaniel was and wasn't letting him in. And
Oof.
like this is like in front of his grandkid and everything. The player said it just happened that he was walking by and he could like he saw it out of the corner of his eye and was like, "That's Wahoo," and then saw like Wahoo's face and he was like, "Oh no, like I better get over there." And he like told the security guys like, "You know who the fuck this is? Like you're gonna let him in," and like got him into the building and like he told that security guard, he's like, "You don't know how close you just came to like." Really having an incident here because it's like he's in front of his grandkid and he's like, I don't know you. Yeah. Yeah. Flair said if he wouldn't have been walking by there right at that moment, he doesn't know what would have fucking happened.
Let's picture old Wahoo McDaniel chopping this guy.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah.
Number
Yeah,
198. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying that dude. I don't know. Is he he's not in the WWE Hall of Fame, is he?
He might be. I think he might have been one of those legacy people where they put like 8 or 10 guys in. Just you know what I
Well,
mean?
hopefully they don't do that shit anymore.
Yeah.
But they get like that's the other like I know we're not talking about the WrestleMania or whatever, but that was nice. It's like, oh, hey, no Warrior Award. Thank God.
Mhm.
No, like, we're just gonna fucking lob all these guys in just out of I didn't like
Yes,
those things.
yes, he did get lobbed into one of those things. He got
Yeah, it's
inducted in,
fucking
or
Wahoo McDaniel,
not
goddammit.
inducted, but he got put in 2019 in one of those legacy Hall of Fame things.
It's Wahoo goddamn McDaniel. You're just gonna fucking
Give him a 30-second video.
fuck you. But go ahead.
Number 198, Axis the Demolisher, 6'2", 3037. It says 7 years pro. Okay. Was founding member of Demolition when known as Axe, now often appears in independents in Georgia and surrounding states. He and Smash were the WWF tag team contender. We're WWF tag. I can't take it seriously when they say that Axe has only been wrestling for 7 years in 1994.
He's been wrestling for like 30.
Okay, the gimmick.
Like
The gimmick
he was
started
old
in 84.
he was old when he was Axe.
Yeah. And one of the coolest dudes I've ever got to talk to in wrestling.
Yeah, he was a nice dude. But yeah, just I don't know. Part of me wishes that like when they left, he wouldn't have just kept trying to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just
because you
go
see
back
him
to
like
being
teaming up with it's like Axe and Bash and Axe
he's like Axis the Destroyer. It's like just go back to being Superstar, man.
and I think, to be honest with you, I mean, not only because obviously in the indies he could get a better payday by portraying that gimmick, but I think he also did it to give a big fuck you to Vince because of the whole feud over the gimmick thing. You know,
Well, I know that's what it was, but it's also just like just let it go, man. I don't know. Like don't be an imitation of what you were.
Yeah. What's funny about Demolition, and I mean, I know we're talking about him in '94, but as a tag team, what's crazy about them is if you really think about it, they made so much impact in such a short run. You know, like
Yeah.
they were only Demolition for like 4 years, 3 years, 4 years.
And I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, but I don't think their run was going to be as short as it was. I just heard that when Hawk and Animal came in, that was one of their contentions or one of their whatevers that they didn't want those guys like basically being around like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and that's one of the reasons why near the end of their run, if you remember, they had a couple of things where they filmed them in those fucking like the gimp masks.
Yeah.
And they even show them in the gimp masks in the pictures for the Survivor Series '90, but they come out in their makeup because the WWF decided with the test that they tested it and they didn't like it. But that was one of the things they were trying to do was get Demolition away from the makeup. And I also think it's funny that Bill Eadie said that there was that thing that was out for a while that said, like, if you remember it, it was like, why was Axe's hair so nice at SummerSlam 90 or Survivor Series 90?
Yeah, that was that sign. That sign was like, somebody explain Hawk's hair or animals. Yeah, I can't speak.
Axe's hair.
Yeah, Axe's hair at Summer at Survivor Series 90 or whatever.
Why was his hair so nice?
Over my words. Yeah.
Why was it?
Like
Why was his hair so nice? And Bill Eadie has said it was because it was my last night, and I was like, fuck him. Fucking go out there.
Go out there with my glorious poof hunt and just do my shit.
But I just like the way it's phrased. Like, why was Axe's hair so nice? It's got a date after the show. Oh, man. Number 197 is Psychosis. 5'10", 200 pounds, 3 years pro. Youngest name wrestler currently in AAA. Current welterweight champion. Daredevil style, comparable to Sabu or Jushin Liger, but has better ring speed than either. Tijuana native, idolized Liger in his youth.
I don't know if he is better. I don't know if he's better than Jushin Liger, but I mean, He's still Psychosis, and he's awesome.
And I also know that in 1994, because in 1994 I had not yet started going back through the history of pro wrestling and watching. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I hadn't. There's a lot of wrestling that I've seen now that I hadn't seen then. But I can tell you back then, the first time I saw Psychosis and Rey Mysterio, it was the fastest wrestling I'd ever seen in my life, and my jaw hit the floor.
It was insane. And like I said, I think Psychosis was awesome, and I think um um I think I even said it on Reliving the Extreme that like he was the better fit. Like I think if he would have stuck around, he would have been a better fit for ECW. And
Yeah.
he was like the perfect opponent for Rey Mysterio because
Mm-hmm.
he can keep up with him. He's fast enough and agile enough to keep up with him, and he's big enough to catch him wherever Ray's going. You know what I mean? Like, because Psychosis is actually kind of lanky.
Yeah.
Like he's like long arms and whatever. And
I mean,
yeah,
and I mean, yeah.
I don't think Ray would have still got over, but that was the perfect opponent for him to
No,
be attached to make it in the United States.
I was just gonna say, and you can disagree with me or tell me if you think there's somebody that's in here or not. Because Rey Mysterio to me is the greatest luchador to ever wrestle in the United States. He might be the greatest luchador ever. But if I'm gonna pick Rey Mysterio's three best opponents that he had his best matches with over the years, it would be Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, and Psychosis.
That's close. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where because him and Dean were really good.
Yeah, no, and yeah, absolutely. That's why I said you might have a different, you might have a different person or something than me, but those are my three favorite Rey Mysterio opponents. Psychosis is definitely in there.
Yeah.
Because it's like they had I don't even know what the word is. I don't know that it's chemistry. They just had a flow where there was just
Well,
it
they
was
worked.
it
They
was
trained together.
perfect.
They grew it. They
Yeah.
came in together. They knew exactly what to do and when to do it and how to do it, and they
We
were
go
having
from
those matches before they were in front of people. You know what I mean?
yeah. Here we go from one end of the spectrum to the other. We go from Psychosis at 190. Dick Murdoch, 6'4", 280, 25 years pro, mean old coot. One of the toughest of the brawlers, he and Adrian Adonis won the WWF World Tag Titles in 1984 in ECW and other independents, also occasionally in Japan.
Well, they brought it up with the title reign, and that is like because it was in um, that weird time in the WWF. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
before
where
WrestleMania.
they're transitioning from
Yeah, and
yeah.
they were probably the best act in that entire company at that time, man.
Mm-hmm.
Murdoch and Adonis were a great fucking tag team,
Yeah.
and they were funny. And when they were funny when they needed to be, they could also be serious when they needed to be. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was a good fucking tag team, man.
What was
I
great
wish it would.
about them,
I wish it would have lasted longer.
what was also great about them, it's a subtle thing, but their act almost was like these are two guys that are teaming together that actually should be fighting each other, because unless they were together in the ring or together like on TNT, if there was a vignette like Adrian Adonis was in New York and Dick Murdoch was in Texas, like they never did like a vignette together,
Yeah, they did.
so did they? Oh, I guess
Yeah,
they
because
did do
like
the thing where Adonis went to Texas. That's right.
yeah, Adonis went to Texas and Murdoch went to
Yeah,
New
that's right.
York,
I wasn't I forgot about those.
and they did that awesome shit where they like drove up in their fucking Cutlass or whatever to fucking or not Cutlass, but they're like I think they were like in a Lincoln Continental or whatever, and almost like ran over fucking Jay Strongbow and his Indian dancing, and yeah, they were fucking great, man. I like that team. I don't know what he's doing in '94.
Well, he's just palling around. I think we actually saw him briefly on maybe like one episode of the early ECW stuff. Then I think he does the 95 Rumble. And then
Yeah,
didn't he die in 96? Did he do
I
the 95
think
Rumble or the 96 Rumble? I don't remember.
I can't remember
But anyway.
because I know they brought him in just to work on the road,
Mm-hmm.
and it just wasn't gonna work out because he was just whatever. But yeah, they brought him in like they weren't gonna do anything with him on TV, but he was just gonna be like a house show guy. So I've heard Jim Ross talk about it before. But yeah, just I don't know. I think the guy was really good, and like I said, I thought Adonis and Murdoch was a fucking great team.
Number 195 is Terry Taylor, 6'1", 225, 14 years pro, resurfaced in WCW, wrestled as Terrence Taylor and the Red Rooster over the years. Solid technical wrestler. Best years are probably behind him, but is smart and could surprise. Terry Taylor, overrated, underrated, or just right?
Just right.
I find him to be a tad overrated.
I think he's just right, and he's better as a heel, and but he's also a fucking he. I'll give it one. Dude's a survivor, man.
Oh
Like
yeah, no shit.
I'll give him that. I think he's still working there, isn't he?
I think
I
so.
think
I
he's
think
still with
I think he
he's
works
still
in
with
Florida.
NXT.
I think yeah, as I
Yeah,
say, I think he works in Florida. Yeah. Yeah, he's up there
yeah,
with the survivors like Bruce Pritchard and yeah.
yeah. So God bless him on that aspect of it. But yeah, I think he's just right. I don't think he's underrated. I don't think he's overrated. I think he's just right there.
194 is Scott Armstrong, 6'1", 212, 11 years pro. Has lately teamed with his brother Steve against Smoky Mountain Tag Team champs Brian Lee and Chris Candido. Excellent super kick, smallish, but not a high flyer like Steve or brother Brad.
Um, I don't want to say it because he was good, but he's the out of the out of the if you go off working wise, I mean he's not out of the wrestling aspect of it. Scott is my least favorite Armstrong,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Great referee.
Oh, he's a great referee, and he wasn't a bad wrestler either. Like he was a really good wrestler. I just think that he doesn't have the charisma of Brian. You know,
Right.
he doesn't have the working ability of Brad. And I've said it over and over and over again. I think Steve he got like everything from his dad. You know what I mean? Like Brian got the charisma and the talk, and
Mm-hmm.
and Brad got the working. But like Steve's, he had both, and
Yeah.
I think like everything I've read about him, like he just wanted to be at home and didn't want to do that WWF grind because he was the first one to get there.
He and Tracy Smothers are one of the underrated, forgotten great tag
Oh,
teams.
definitely.
Well, they're a fucking bomb ass tag team.
Oh yeah, and they got great matches out of the janky free birds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, the young pistols, they are fucking Southern boys, whichever one you want to call them. They were really fucking good, man. And but and but I to me, Scott ring wise and personality wise and everything was just kind of there's not a bad Armstrong, but he'd be
Right.
if I had to list them all, he'd be the one I'd be like, that's the guy. That guy's my last one.
Mm-hmm.
And Dixie Dynamite was a stupid gimmick.
Yeah.
Come out to the ring with little sparklers, all those little firecrackers. That's what he called his little fans, his little firecrackers. Like we all know who you are, man. You got your big schnoz out. Like, we know who you are. Like, he didn't wear a full mask. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
he
why
wore like,
that's like sometimes when and I love him. I love him. I love listening to him. I agree with a lot of what he says. He's a great historian. But sometimes Jim Cornette will poke fun at a gimmick or whatever, and I'll be like, Dixie Dynamite.
yeah, Dixie Dynamite.
Everybody don't bat 1,000 all the time there, James E.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like, I don't know. I like watching Smoky Mountain. Smoky Mountain's fun. But yeah, I just didn't his little his little his little face group at the first start of that company was like Brian Lee, primetime Brian Lee, Tim Horner, Jackie and Bobby, and then uh Dixie Dynamite. That was his big face group. For a minute Hector was in there too, but Hector didn't last very long. But yeah, it's like your face roster wasn't like the greatest thing at the beginning of your shit, buddy.
Number 193 is Killer Kyle. 6'2", 292, 6 years pro. Now better known in Smoky Mountain as Bruiser Bedlam's occasional tag team partner. Powerful, mysterious man in black, managed by Jim Cornette, was also his bodyguard, still in the prime of his career.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna interested to see because I've noticed kind of a trend with this one is like they're grouping like territorial guys together.
Kind of.
Like it's kind of just going like by region. So because like we just got Scott Armstrong, now we're getting Killer Kyle. I'm just wondering how many Smoky Mountain guys are gonna be in like this little truck of like 15. But Killer Kyle was what he was. I mean, he wasn't a whore. He was a very basic wrestler, but he looked good and like filled out his gimmick good and everything like that. And I love the fact that everything about him, Bob Caudle thought was weird.
Yeah, this weird fellow.
This guy's weird. This guy's weird, man. This weird. He come out to Green Onions and he's like, he's got this weird music and he's got that briefcase. That's weird, man. Oh, why
Bob Kyle's like Hank Hill. Like, this is weird.
That's weird, man. It's a little weird.
I don't think he really did anything past Smoky Mountain.
Well, Killer? Mm-hmm. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything significant. He was on. He did like some like he'd do like those worldwide things and everything like that where he just lose on there. But yeah, he didn't do anything big.
Number 192 is Doink 2. 6 foot 235. Doink 2. Clone came out from under the ring and onto Independence after WWF ruled there could only be one Doink. Clown even was in a tag team partner with yet another. The hell Doink this is. Because by this time in 94, Matt Bourne's out. Apollo is playing Doink in the WWF. And yeah, they did do the thing where they said there could only be one Doink, and that's when they introduced Dink. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't think they'd have Steve Kern listed as Doink 2.
This is probably honestly just to get all the independent Doinks on the 500.
The independent Doink.
The franchisee Doinks.
Yeah. And then also it's like, oh, there can be 2 Doinks. Like that's a random rule. How many tag teams have we had before where it was like there were 2 conquistadors?
There were 2 invaders.
There were 2 invaders, multiple invaders. It's just like I bet like if I was the Doinks, I'd be like, I think we're being persecuted.
Yes, we'd like to bring up
a lawsuit.
No, I was gonna say we'd like to bring up Vince McMahon Sr. versus Texas Hangman case in court from 1979.
Man, how many assassins did you people have? This is bullshit.
We ain't clowning around here.
Yeah, you're racist towards clowns.
Fucking bigots.
Yeah, you fucking bigots.
Shit. Number 191 is Dean Malenko. 5'9", 216, 14 years pro, competes in Japan, son of famed rule breaker Boris Malenko, but wrestles in the aerial Japanese style. Former WCW competitor, brother Joe and sister Debbie recently retired from Japanese wrestling. And of course, it's funny because he's 14 years into his career and hasn't even made the impact yet that he's going to make.
Nope. And I don't remember who it was, but I recently posted on, I don't know if it was recently, but I was watching stuff late at night and I was like, I've never seen a bad Dean Malenko match. And then somebody posted, to me, Dean Malenko was just a tumbling artist. Like, really? It's Dean fucking Malenko, man. Yeah, he just said he was a all he did was tumble. Come on now.
Yeah,
Come on,
get
son.
with it. Come on. Come on.
Yeah. Referee, like he was a referee in the WWF. You remember that, right? For a little bit. Do you know the craziest fact of Dean Malenko is, or what the craziest fact for Dean Malenko is? He was the guy that went to court during the Chuck Austin thing, and like took the rocker dropper in the courtroom.
Oh yeah, now that you mentioned it, I have heard that. Maybe Cornette mentioned. I don't know who mentioned it, but yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, now that you said it.
Yeah. It's just like the randomest guy is Dean Malenko. But yeah, and they say he was a WCW competitor, but he was just like he wasn't there very long. He did that tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just oh man. See, is he even in ECW yet?
Nope. He's still in Japan wrestling Eddie as Black Tiger. Eddie's Black Tiger, not Dean. But yeah, they're gonna be in ECW very soon, but not yet.
I mean, him and his brother were a good team too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, anybody that does not listen to Wrestling Nostalgia with Dave Dynasty, friend of the show, his latest episode this week is an interview with Joe Malenko. So go check it out.
I bet it's funny, right?
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
The Malenkos are funny guys. It's just funny because you don't think it when you look at them, but they're both funny dudes.
Mm-hmm.
What's Jericho say that they say with that strip club, and the stripper was like really skinny, and Dean was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to give her $1 or a food stamp.
190 is Manny Fernandez.
Right?
6 foot, 245, 16 years pro, has held the NWA World Tag titles with Dusty Rhodes and Rick Rude. Raging Bull never backs down from anybody, has seen better days, currently in Florida Independence and IWCCW.
And one of the only times I really enjoyed Paul Jones was when he was with Rick Rude and Manny Fernandez, and they were the Mustache World Order. And I thought they were a good fucking tag team. And I have no problem with Manny Fernandez.
I'm not a fan. I don't hate him. I don't balk when I see him come on my TV. But I'm not a fan of Manny. I don't know why. It's just he doesn't click with me.
I don't mind him.
Willie.
He body slammed Abdullah the Butcher and suplexed him or whatever. That shit was crazy.
Every time I see Manny Fernandez, it's like Willie. Anyway. Number 190, or no, I'm sorry, 189. Sparky Plug. 6'1", 231, 1-year pro. Popular WWF newcomer, races cars in spare time. Native of Talladega, Alabama. Uses top rope splash finisher that he calls the pit stop plunge. Still very prone to costly mistakes.
They're gimmicking up these years, by the way.
Yes, because he wrestled in Smoky Mountain before this.
Yeah,
Did Bob Holly.
Yeah, and he was even working before then. Yeah, he debuted in 1987.
Yeah. Didn't he, for part of his career, his early career before the WWF, he essentially kind of sort of did, he did like a, what do I want to say, like a knockoff, he was like a knockoff Bret Hart.
Well, kind of. He wore the pink and black, but he did more like he was Hollywood Bob Holly or whatever. But yeah.
At this time.
And then he almost quit because nothing was happening, and that's when he went into racing, and that's how he got the stupid name Sparky Plug.
Thurman
he said he hated
Sparky Plug.
Yeah, he said he hated that because people would be like, "Oh, hey man, what do you do for a living?" "Oh, I'm a wrestler." "Really? What's your name?"
Sparky Plug.
Thurman Plug. So
I say this.
He said he went to Vince and said, "I can't be Thurman Plug anymore. You gotta," and like they said, Vince wanted you to have some, like if you were gonna have an argument for something they gave you, he wanted you to have the reason in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just don't come to me with a problem. Come to me with your problem and your solution. And he was like, "Just call me Bob, like just Bob Holly." And like the only gimmick, was he had to keep Sparky. But yeah,
he
Thurman Plug. Lord,
I always contest. That, and everybody knows I am a tried and true WWF guy. WWF is what I don't know the most history for and can recite different cards and different things and everything. And I say this, although there was some great shit on top, like Brett and Owen and stuff, undercard wise, 94 is the worst year in WWF history. It's so boring. And the gimmicks are boring, and the music is boring. Like Quang comes out, and it's like ding tong, tong tong, ting tong, ting.
Yeah.
It's just,
and the
it's
problem is like the crazy part too is because the roster wasn't bad.
Yeah, the roster was kick ass.
It's like some of these guys are gonna go on to like be really, really fucking cool in a couple of years, but they just had no, like, I don't know. I mean, his attention wasn't anywhere where it should have been because he had other shit going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't the greatest.
Number 188, Mil Mascaras, 5'11", 245, 30 years pro, the most famous Mexican wrestler in history. Name means man of 1,000 masks. Still wrestles frequently using his famed flying body press. Senior editor Bill Apter's all-time favorite wrestler. Mil Mascaras. I contend to this. I will say this, and some old guy would disagree with me, but I will contend that on this day, as we record on April 14th, 2024, I know whether I dug him or not, Mil Mascaras was the most famous Mexican wrestler in history, but I now say that is Rey Mysterio. I say Rey Mysterio has overtaken Mil Mascaras as the most famous Mexican wrestler in history.
Worldwide, yeah, and whatever, but I don't like Mil Mascaras. I think he sucks.
I'm not a fan. I don't know that he. I think he sucks, but I
think he sucks.
Number one,
puffed out twist, his little twinkle toes, and his fucking stupid little move that he does over and over again.
And one of the greatest stories you'll ever read in a book, ladies and gentlemen, is Mick Foley's Mil Mascaras stories.
Yeah, fucking sucked.
Number 187.
He's a prick. His whole family's kind of his whole family's kind of pricks. Because fucking what's his name? Alberto is related to him, and Alberto's a prick.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
Number 187 on an undercover cop is Sumitu. I don't know. 6'3", 288, 3 years pro. Samoan continues steady progress, very tenacious competitor with an excellent headbutt. Can bench press 500 pounds in the Pacific Northwest, Independence, and Northern California. Also wrestled in Japan. I don't know who this is.
Yeah, I didn't see him
Sumito.
on that. I didn't see him on the Rock's family tree that he put up. So I don't know.
Yeah. He's not part of the bloodline.
Yeah.
186 is Bruiser Brian Cox. 6'2", 300 pounds, 3 years pro, formerly known solely as Bruiser Brian, Idaho Falls, Idaho native who loves to use the power bomb, a regular in the Pacific Northwest, solid tag team wrestler. I don't know who it is. We're going to move on.
Good.
184 is John Rambo, or 185, I'm sorry, John Rambo, 6'2", 260, 7 years pro, veteran of Pacific Northwest, has drifted from Patriot to Rule Breaker and allied with the hated Colonel De Beers. Also has competed in Europe and Japan. List's favorite hold is anything that works. I like
I remember
that.
seeing him. Yeah, I remember seeing him in the magazines, but I never really saw him wrestle.
I think he was one of those guys. Wasn't he one of those guys that wrestled for Wands over in like at his little carnival things in Germany? John
Probably.
Rambo.
Which is funny because speaking of that, and we're not talking about this guy. I mean, we're not talking about these guys. But I found some I didn't find it. I hate when people are like, I found this, but they just searched it on YouTube or
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
didn't find that. The person that posted it on YouTube found it.
Right.
But anyway, I watched a match from one of those things, like one of those little German carnivals, between Fit Finley and a Doink, and it was fantastic. But anyway,
Speckensy Doink.
yeah, I don't know. I was like, Fit Finley wrestled a Doink. I didn't know that. It was really good. Like, just a German Doink could work, and he did a good job.
Yeah. Number 184 is Davey Boy Smith, 5'9", 245, 17 years pro, left WCW, now competes in Europe, was slated to participate in WWF's Fall Tour of the Continent, former WWF Intercontinental Champion. Britain has wrestled since his mid-teens, superb at Power Slam. So they must have published this right before he comes back at SummerSlam 94, or went to press with this anyway, because he does return at SummerSlam of 1994.
Yeah, there was like a year period there where he wasn't anywhere.
Yeah.
Then he showed back up on the WWF at that SummerSlam. He said that SummerSlam.
I got Brett's haircut and I'm back.
Yeah, and he was wearing that vest and his round glasses. It was very 90s looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that WCW run was a fucking disaster. He just never. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
No, I was agreeing with you. His WCW run was he was a WWF guy. I mean, he just did not fit WCW.
No.
Ever.
I don't understand it, but yeah, it just didn't seem to work. And
even when he went there in 97.
Yeah, like it was him and Neidhart were terrible there. For one, they were loaded the entire time.
Yeah.
When they come out, they both look bloated as shit, and it's just whatever. But yeah, they gave. I hate to say it, but they gave a lot of money to some cokeheads and didn't give them anything to do. Like,
right.
Here's all your money, and we're not going to have you on the road very much.
And all that, and that is, and I know what you're saying there, but also too about the Davey thing being a WWF guy. It's kind of weird. All those Stampede boys, WWF guys, once they were outside of there, they just didn't fit WCW. Any of them. Anytime they went there. That brief time Owen went there in like 91 or whatever.
Yeah.
Brett goes there as like the biggest fucking star and flounders in WCW because they don't know what to. I'm not blaming those guys. I'm just saying, it seems like those Calgary guys, Vince was the one that knew what to do with them, you know?
I also think they were all wrestling kids too, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they go into this thing and it's just like this is fucking stupid. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like yeah.
Yeah.
I just think I think it worked for them in WWF because Vince still ran it somewhat like a territory, like a wrestling company.
Right.
And they go over here and it's some corporation. It's like, what the fuck? The fuck out of here.
183, Eric Watts, 6'5", 262. Sophomore Jinx hit the son of former WCW executive Bill Watts, nowhere near as competitive or visible as he once was. Famed for STF finishing move. I think it's funny. They're like, the sophomore Jinx hit him. No, his dad is no longer the booker.
Yeah. His dad pissed off a balcony and said he didn't have to sell chicken to black people if he didn't want to. Like that's what happened.
Eric
But
Watts. Eric Watts kind of stunk.
yeah, I was just gonna say that a lot of times they hate when you get guys that like there's certain guys that in wrestling that were sons of promoters or sons of workers that I think get a bad rap just because they're that person's kid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like it's going on right now with Dominic Mysterio. I think people are starting to get past it a little bit now, and they're booing him because it's part of the show or whatever. But Dominic's actually really good, I think.
I
But
agree.
anyway, I think that Eric Watts, when people are like, that guy just got pushed because his dad was Bill Watts and he sucked, it's like, you're right.
You're
He
right.
sucked.
Yeah.
He was bad.
Um, Another second generation star here at 182 is Jesse Barr. 6', 243, 13 years pro, son of Sandy Barr, previously used the name Jimmy Jack Funk, famed for his bulldog headlock, well regarded throughout the Pacific Northwest, though he has a stable of rule breakers.
I mean, he's all right. I mean, I can say he was great. I can say he's bad. He was just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jimmy Jack Funk was stupid, but is what it
Yeah.
is.
Number 181, King Kong Bundy. 6'4", 446, 18 years pro, New Jersey native, rumored to be lost classic steel cage match to Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania. The WWA champ Frank Finnegan in 1994. Very intimidating. You know what's funny about Bundy? He leaves the WWF in 88, like early 88. Because actually at one point he was billed to be in that 20-man battle royal at WrestleMania 4, and then he leaves
Yeah.
before that. And he didn't wrestle again until like 93. Like he just walked away from wrestling for like 5 years. And then he started wrestling again in the Northeast Independence in like 93, and then WWF hires him back in 94, but I don't know what he did in the interim. I don't know if he drove a truck or what he did, but
he did movies and he did Hollywood stuff. Like he's in moving. And just probably did appearances. And he did spots on like I'm Married with Children and shit like that. But yeah,
mm-hmm.
and I don't know what he did other than that. But yeah, I mean, he's also a guy that's like I get it, but he's also a guy that I'm just like a lot of times it's just like, it's Bundy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's not like somebody that I'd go down and say, oh, this is my favorite dude, or he was fucking awesome. It's like I think he was just kind of it's just Bundy.
Yeah. Well, and there is, in my mind, because again, like I always say, you go back to what was your youth and everything. The King Kong Bundy that is burned into my mind is King Kong Bundy with Bobby Heenan standing beside him.
Oh yeah.
You
And like I
know?
said, I get it, but like out of the Hogan, like the Hogan WrestleMania run or whatever, I always just kind of looked at Bundy as being as like weakest. I don't want to say weakest, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
like that's your lamest guy. in that whole run.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It might also be
Yep.
the fact that I don't really like WrestleMania 2. Like, I think WrestleMania 2 is pretty boring. That's just
WrestleMania
me.
2. WrestleMania 2 it suffered from a few things. First, the 3 arena concept didn't work for them for the WWF. It also suffers from the fact that they came off the first WrestleMania and it was such a big deal. And it's funny because if you watch from Mania 1 to Mania 2, it's literally like from WrestleMania 1 to maybe even from WrestleMania 1 until they start Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff's program in 86. They don't exactly know what they are. Like Vince is still figuring it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like some of it's like territory wrestling and some of it's like the crazy cartoony shit and they don't know what they are yet. They're still and then by WrestleMania 3 he's fucking got it figured out.
Yeah. And like I said, I just like a 2 is just boring and it's like all over. That's like the 3 different buildings and fucking, I don't know. And
It's like
Hogan and
WrestleMania.
Bundy doing,
WrestleMania, what's one of your feature matches? Jake Roberts and George Wells.
yeah. And then WrestleMania 2, what the world has come to.
Yeah, it sounds like you're complaining about it.
Yeah, this is what the world has come to. Now that's what you call music? That's stupid. I don't know how we got on. Well, I know how we got onto WrestleMania 2 because you're talking about
Bundy.
Bundy and it was the biggest thing he ever did. But yeah, I don't know.
Poor Bundy. I don't know. Anyway, 132, the great Sasuke. 5'8", 185, 4 years pro, hottest young Japanese wrestler, beat Jushin Liger for the Super J Cup, stars in Michinoku Pro in extreme northeast Japan. Perhaps wrestling's best pure high flyer, frequent injuries have hampered his phenom. Or this phenom, I'm sorry.
I mean, he was good and like whatever, but it's one of my favorite stories of him being like a prick and trying to big dog and then saying, well, fuck off then. We like Taka better anyway.
Yeah, we like Taka better anyway.
He's a
Yeah,
better citizen. He's a better citizen. He's a better worker than you. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, when Taka Michinoku and Great Sasuke did their initial match at the Canadian Stampede, the intent was to start bringing in and letting the American fans know about Sasuke to give him the push. But then once they got a look at Taka and learned that Taka also not only was probably better than Sasuke, but also had a better attitude, they were like, no, we'd rather have the guy we just brought over to wrestle you.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Taka was the second actual guaranteed contract in the WWF. I think.
I think you're right.
Because Mark Merrow was the first one. Mark Merrow got guaranteed money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Taka got it. And it was probably because I mean, I don't think Mark Merrow deserved guaranteed money, but if I'm Taka Michinoku and it's like I'm leaving this country where I'm whatever, it's like it probably was some guaranteed. I want to be like,
You know what was
taken
the
care of or
worst
whatever.
guaranteed contract they ever did?
Is that
Tiger Ali Singh.
I mean, there's no upside to that.
No, that's the only reason he was around as long as he was. Because he
Yeah.
literally like they signed him to a guaranteed contract when they thought he was good. It's like,
Like at
oh
least
fuck, we're stuck with this turd for 4 fucking years.
am I Mark Merrow's biggest fan? No, but he was at least good until he fucked his knee up. You know what I mean? But yeah, just like I don't know. Tiger Ali saying is like trash.
Number 131 is Tatsumi Fujinami, 6'1", 238, 23 years pro. Held the IWGP title until losing it to Shinya Hashimoto in May one of Japan's greatest wrestlers, one of Japan's greatest wrestlers, Stellar Scorpion Leglock, former WWF World Junior Heavyweight Champion, also competed in the WCW. I would put Fujinami up there in like I would put him up there like if we would say the rare air of Japanese wrestlers, you know.
Like he's one of the. I mean, he could be one of your pillars or whatever. Like compare him to like over here, like a Ric
Like if
Flair or
well, I was yeah,
John
that's what I was gonna
Cena.
say. If Baba and Inoki are like your Bruno and Fez in Japan, Fujinami could be up there like as when he like your Hogan or Flair, you know.
Yeah, and he was really fucking good.
Oh God, yes.
And just he also was just looked like a guy that could just fuck you up if he wanted to. Like,
Yeah, him and Masawa, man, both of them. Like, ooh, I think that
yeah,
guy would probably just beat the fuck out of me.
I'm a little afraid of you.
I don't want me none of Fujinami. I don't want me none of Misawa.
Yeah. And Mr. Saito, I really don't want anything to do with you. You are terrifying.
Number
And
130. Oh, sorry. Number 130
I
is
was saying,
Invader 1. Invader 1, 5'10, 227, 25 years pro, former WWF competitor, known for wearing silver mask but often wrestles without one, captured the WWC tag team titles with El Bronco 1. Veteran formerly known as Jose Gonzalez.
whatever. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know a lot about like Puerto Rican wrestling and whatever, but
Yeah, me neither, to be honest with you. Just what we've watched for reviewing purposes.
sounds like it's just a shady environment that I wouldn't want anything to do with anyway. So
Yeah. This is the guy that's like, I was the one that didn't kill Brody.
yeah, that's not me.
Eh.
Why do you think? Why do you think I'm teaming with this? Who'd you say his partner was?
Invader 1 is teaming with El Bronco 1.
Yeah, it's like, why do you think I'm teaming with El Bronco one?
Yes. Invader 2 and El Bronco 2 were there that night.
Yeah,
We are the ones. We are not the twos.
yes.
We are
El
day one,
Bronco
Oos.
El Bronco 2 stabbed George Wells. Like, I think it's somebody he stabbed that nobody knew about.
All right. Number 129 is Rob Van Dam. 6', 227, 4 years pro, former IWF former IWF TV champ, now competes in Midwest Independence and in Japan. Excellent split-legged moonsault, kickboxes as a hobby, briefly in WCW. Yeah, he was Robbie V in WCW. At this point in 94, he has not yet emerged in ECW.
Yeah, Bill Watts brought him in. This Bill Watts was all over the place. I'm going to bring back the light heavyweight division, but nobody can jump off the top rope.
Right.
What are we doing here?
It's funny.
So you want to bring back the junior heavyweight division, then, sir, not the light heavyweight division. But anyway, but yeah, Rob was in WCW for a hot minute, left when Bill left, if I remember right, and then did his thing and finally wound up in ECW and had one of the greatest careers in the history of wrestling, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, he's about a year and a couple of months from being off to the races here. But
There was a
still
time, man, when that dude was so fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking phenomenal.
Number 128. Another guy we talked extensively about in the early episodes of course, Reliving the Extreme, Tommy Cairo. He was actually a guest on the show as well. 6'3",
Yes.
257, 3 years pro, muscular Iron Man, popular in ECW. Now allied with Peaches, who is estranged from the Sandman. They participated in caning and other bizarre matches, also occasionally seen in other Eastern independents. Fruits.
Fresh fruits.
Fresh fruits. I like Tommy Cairo.
I do too. I think. Yeah, I don't have any problem with him, and I just think like he just probably wasn't for what Paulie wanted to go with ECW. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. But
Yeah, it's
honestly,
like
I think. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like he told us when we talked to him. It was pretty much just a situation where they, and apparently he wasn't somebody that Paulie wanted to proceed forward with once he took over the booking and everything. Or I guess Paulie was already the booker, but you know what I mean. He wasn't somebody that Paulie wanted to keep around. He wasn't in his vision. So
the funny part too, though, is like I watch it back, and like when he started wearing the jeans and doing whatever, like I don't think he would have been. I think he probably would have fit in like 97. Like if they would have brought him back. And maybe not have him be a singles guy, but have him be in one of the groups,
Yeah.
Like I think it would have worked.
Let's see here. 127. Not anybody I'm really familiar with. Takayuki Iizuka, New Japan star, continues to rise. Aerial wrestlers once had a classic bout with Owen Hart. Has an excellent future ahead of him.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Takayuka Manuka Sambuca. Is that what he said?
Sambuca. 126 is Dan Profit. 5'11", 235, 12 years pro. Canadian native, has an excellent career in Japan. Has often teamed with Doug Furnace. Tough, intelligent, with an excellent physique. Rarely competes in North America.
Philip Lafon.
Yes, he would later wrestle as Philip Lafon in the WWF, along with Doug Furnace as a tag team.
Capital L, little A. Yeah, I mean,
in the WWF, question in the WWF, because it's one or the other. It's absolutely one or the other. Did Furnace and Lafon come along too soon, or did they come along too late?
Too late.
I agree. I think that if
they're working with the Rougeaus and the Hearts.
Yes. I was about to say, if you have them in the tag division, if you have them in the tag division in 1988, 89, completely different career in the WWF.
Tag team guys didn't have to also be promo guys and shit like that, I mean, it is what it is, but like, I also don't think Owen probably did, but I also don't think Davey liked those guys at first.
No, Davey didn't sell shit for those guys at all.
That Survivor Series, like going in, they're like, this Doug Furnace has the best drop kick you've ever seen in your life. And he goes to hit it, and Davey just ducks like slightly.
Yeah. It's like the footage they have nowadays of Samoa Joe sidestepping fucking dude. Yeah.
That's all Davey did to him. And I don't know. It's just I don't think Davey liked him. Maybe he didn't even like him when they were in the Hart Foundation either, or whatever, when they were trying to piece that together. But I think they came in way too late.
This next one's gonna get you.
It also. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. At that point in their career, if they were going to bring him in, they should have brought him. I think they would have needed a manager at that point. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I think we'll wrap up on this last one because it's 125.
Okay.
But this one I think is going to be funny for me because you have been talking about how they're totally fucking kayfabing we've been discussing how they're totally kayfabing the years in the business. Like we said, Axis the Demolisher was
7
they said
years.
7 years. This one's
Bob's
fun.
a rookie.
This one's fun. 6'5", 239 pounds, 1 year pro. 1 year pro. Bunkhouse Buck.
What? He's been wrestling since like the 70s.
Right. I was like, that's fantastic. That totally like it seals the deal on the gimmick for this week that they just are kayfabing the years in the business. Fucking Jimmy Golden's only been around for a year.
Yeah. The fuck? He debuted in 1968. 1 year.
It's funny.
He's like a grizzled veteran at this point. But also fucking awesome. Awesome, man.
Let me read the description real quick. Member of Colonel Rob Parker's stud stable, Ornery Brawler despises both Dustin and Dusty Rhodes and is completely obsessed with destroying them. Claims to be the real Man, that shit like cracked me up. Anyway, Bunkhouse Buck. Yes, you're right. Fantastic.
That stud stable in 93, 94, that was like the last, and when I say it, it's not going to be like whatever, but that was like the last great just what WCW was. You know what I mean? To me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like the last thing before Hogan came in and just fucked everything up.
If you watch early 94 WCW, and even once Hogan gets there for a little bit, until everything goes total cartoony. But if you watch WCW during this time, if you hear boom, 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 you know you're about to get a badass match. Yeah, you're about to get a
good shit,
man.
Like nobody bad's coming through that curtain.
Right.
Like it's gonna be Jimmy Golden. It's gonna be either Bunkhouse Buck, Terry Funk, Arn Anderson, Meng, Dick Slater.
And their opponent is going to be Dustin Rhodes or Ricky Steamboat or
it's like nothing bad's going to come out of this. And the manager's going to be entertaining as fuck.
Yeah, but I was just like,
great.
I was just like, yeah. Every time I hear boom, 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 I'm like, all right, here we go.
Go. Like I said, that was like my last fond I shouldn't say fond memories because they did do some good shit, but like that's the last, like in my opinion, that's the last thing WCW did that was just a WCW thing.
Yeah, before they before it was the last thing. It was I'm going to say this and it's going to sound silly, everybody, but it was the last thing World Championship Wrestling ever did before they became WCW. Yeah, like there are two WCWs. There is the pre-Hogan WCW and the post-Hogan WCW. There's good stuff in the post-Hogan WCW after we get the NWO and everything, but the WCW is two different fucking companies.
Yep. So we're ending on Buck.
Yes, especially now because
Buck stops here.
The Buck stops here, and it sounds like my dog's barking to one outside anyway. So,
okay,
we'll start signing off here. Aaron, thank you for joining me. Listeners, thank you for joining us. If you're not already, joining us on Facebook on the WNR Podcast Network on Facebook. We do some fun stuff on there, different posts about wrestling and etc. And if you're listening to the show and you like the show, the best way to help us out is to give us If the app you're listening to, whether it be Apple, Spotify, whatever, gives the option for you to give us a 5-star rating and a good review, do that, because that actually helps us in the algorithms. When people search for Pro Wrestling Pod, pushes us up in the recommendations. So please do that too. Aaron, any parting words for our listeners?
Just like what you said, just share, review, rate, help us out.